Here is my engine as I'm putting it together. I did the porting on the E7 heads. I removed the thermactor smog bump, cut down around the valve guides, and polished out the intake runners and opened them up just a little bit, pretty much smoothing it out, getting rid of all the casting and how coarse the runners were. As far as that's all I did to the heads. As the trick flow valve spring upgrades, instead of the stock cam I upgraded to the E cam and pretty much just repainted everything. The intake is the one from late model restoration, which is the Typhoon intake. It says Pro Comp on it, but it's the Typhoon one. It was 505, and you get the upper and lower intake, the 70mm throttle body, and EGR spacer. And I also got BBK equal length shorty headers, BBK off-road H-pipe flow masters, and the chrome tailpipes, because now I have a 93 Cobra bumper on the back. I repainted the engine bay. It's kind of orangish red, depends on how the light hits it. I just did the sides. I did the front halves. I gotta clean a little bit off the sticker. A little bit of overspray on it. But from a distance, I got a couple brackets I gotta finish painting. I got all the accessory brackets, AC, power steering, all that's painted. I just wanted to take a video and show what it looks like before it's completely assembled, because a lot of this is going to be covered. I painted all the bolts, cleaned them up, sanded them, and brake cleaned and just sprayed them with regular black paint. The gray is new Ford gray engine paint. It was pretty close to the stock engine paint. And then the intake comes that way with the silver paint. The heads I painted silver. Kind of looks like aluminum heads, but maybe not really. The valve covers I was going to paint all black, but the top of it, I got a couple of specks of sand, and it just wasn't coming out right. And the guy at work suggested polishing the top of them and then paint the rest of it black. I figured I'd try that on the other valve cover, and I thought it came out pretty good, so I did it on both valve covers. They got a little bit of a polish to them. I didn't want to spend forever on it. But I got some of the brackets are on there, all new sensors. No point putting the old sensors back on. I got a new cap and rotor for it. I'm just waiting to put that on last. Painted the pulleys are black. Trying to just paint and clean as I go. A lot of grease all over everything, so I still got to clean all the hoses and stuff like that. One thing to point out would be if you're having a hot start on them. I had it on my last 90 and I could never figure it out, and later on down the road I did read about an issue with the negative cable being grounded at the water pump. Well, that's how they come stock. There would be the bolt right there, which holds your battery cable, and it holds the harness up into the water pump. Well, the timing cover, which is aluminum, and not very good for grounding. I mean, it worked from the factory, so obviously it must have been pretty good. But I did it on my friend's car, who has a 90, and he was plagued with having a hot start. He would drive it a little bit, maybe a few minutes, and get somewhere and get back in it and start it up, and it was a 50-50 chance. Sometimes it would start, and sometimes he'd be sitting there waiting for it to cool down so he could get it to start, which is the same issue that I had. On his car, you have an extra bolt hole in the head behind the compressor, AC compressor, and nothing bolts up to it. I took his cable and I had a bolt and I ran it into there. I made sure that the threads were clean, and I opened up the eyelet of the terminal end so that the bolt would go through it. Put it in there, and that fixed his problem. And he's been driving it. He's never had an issue with the hot start. He thought it was a starter. I assumed it was a starter, but I figured, it has to be a ground issue. Let's go from there before we go pulling the starter out and put another starter in, because he already did a starter. So we did this on his car and it fixed it. He's had no issues with a hot start. It doesn't even hesitate to start no matter how long you drive it. You can get in, fire it right up, and it doesn't, no issues. So if you're having an issue, this is an option for you to do. You will have to find a bolt to screw into it. It needs to have the bolt with a built-in washer. That'd be your best bet. Use a steel bolt. Clean the back of the head where the terminal is going to contact the head. Make sure everything is bare metal before you tighten it down. That way you have a good contact with it. And this may help you if you're having a hot start issue. And then I'll take another video once I get more of it back together. Hopefully all of it back together. I still got to do the oil pan gasket and the oil pump. Put the headers on. Put the exhaust on. Etc. etc.